Welcome back. You're watching Road to Success, the key to your next level in business, where our goal is to see you succeed. Our expert is Keekonyokie of Enterprise Development Associates. Welcome back to our show.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to see you back.
Very good.
Godfrey, we just spoke to the Keekonyokie clan that formed a company. And now the first and second generation are working together. Yes. And they seem to embrace the young people. In fact, they invite them to come and take over. But most SMEs never think about succession. I mean, it's never in their plan. Why do you think that is, and what would be the challenge?
The biggest challenge really with SMEs is they really don't plan for succession. They are really engrossed in growing the business, developing the business, and of course, making it successful. And they really don't see the transition coming. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't plan. And although they actually expect it to happen, most SMEs expect, leaders of SMEs expect that when they are done and when they come to a time of retirement, they will hand over the business to their children or selected group of people to run the business, to continue running the business. But a lot of them lack a plan, and actually most transitions, about only a third of the transition really succeed. The reason really is lack of planning, anticipating this transition and putting in place systems that would help the new generation to ease into leadership of the business. The planning really, well, could start. I imagine that there are a lot of business people listening to us who already are running their business, and that they have, say, for example, it's a limited company, so they have this structure of ownership, right, and leadership. So basically what those kind of businesses need to do is to begin to engage in terms of ask themselves, what is going to happen when we transfer the leadership and the ownership of the business to the next generation? They begin to ask those questions. So they need to review their ownership structure, and if necessary, have those documentations and paperwork actually prepared or reviewed, so that then they allow new owners, for example, and they need to put a system in place of how do you become an owner? Do you sell shares? Do you transfer the shares? And if the business is owned by a number of people, directors, whose family members need to come into the business or are already in the business, you really have to go back to the structure of the company and the legal structure in particular. How is it constituted? And then now begin to review that the leaders, the present leaders, they need to sit down and review that, so that then they create the legal structure to allow these people, for example, to come in either as owners or just leaders of the business and not owners, and maybe leave the ownership to whoever they think is required to own the business. The actual process of now bringing in the leaders, the new generation, requires planning. You need to anticipate what needs to be done. What are the core, of course, what are the objectives of the organization? Which direction is it moving? What sort of leaders do we need? What are the areas that need to be filled? So the key skills, core skills that are required in the business for it to survive and perpetuate and become a legacy. So once you identify those needs, then now you begin to identify the right kind of leaders or business, the right kind of skills, for example, among the potential managers, especially internal. Actually, succession is about internal people coming into leadership.
What about family?
Now, when it is a family, the same thing. So the leader of the family, the founders of the company need to sit down and begin to plan and ask themselves, what are we going to do? They need to focus 20 years from now, when this new generation will have taken over from where we are. How will they run the business? How will they manage their own interests? You know, because you're running the business, but you're also asking, how much do I own in this business? So you need to manage those conflicts that will arise eventually if they are not properly taken care of in terms of legal structure and then the leadership structure.
One of the advantages, I suppose, about succession is also creates jobs for the young people who are jobless, isn't it?
That's true, absolutely.
And that then would mean that I would have to bring my children to work, at least they understand what I'm doing.
Yeah, of course, most founders of business, as they run the business and business becomes successful, they actually think it's always the right thing that this wealth and this success pass on to the next generation of their families. So I think that really is usually at the back of the mind of the founders. So I think it's how they execute that needs to be managed, and they need to think through it properly, so that then as they bring in the young generation of leaders, there is a clear understanding that we want you to work in this business, so that then you can appreciate how we run the business and how we make money, so that then when you take on the reign of leadership, then you can be as effective as the older generation.
Thank you, Godfrey. What you've shared with us should give a lot of comfort to a lot of people, yes, that they should actually allow the second generation or the third generation to come and take over, yes, while they enjoy the fruits of what they have worked for very, very many years.
Exactly. And the sad news is only about a third of businesses really manage that succession successfully. A lot of business need to be aware. It can be a very rocky scenario and a very difficult transition if it's not well managed.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Most welcome.
Thank you for watching Road to Success, the key to your next level in business. Have a blessed week.